back, guys, here on Birds 365. We get to talk NFL football with Paul Domowitch, and wherever that's the case here on Birds 365. We're lucky you guys streaming are lucky because Domo always brings the best knowledge and the best Hawaiian shirts whenever he jumps in with us. Domo, did you know when you reached out to Dean Blandino and did your article for the 33rd team that this was the number one topic you wanted to talk about, or did you just gravitate there by happenstance because it's gotten the notification and the attention it should have gotten? It's a pretty important topic.
Well, I mean, it's been a topic for much of the season, particularly as it's become a, more of a prevalent weapon for the Eagles in the playoffs. And I kind of knew where Dean was landing on this from previous conversations with him. So, yeah. So, I mean, I kind of had a hint. And I also had a feeling that this is what's going to happen in the off season. It's going to be heavily discussed in March at the owners' meetings in Arizona, and probably, will be eliminated.
Yeah. And, 3/4 of the league has to agree. So, already I saw Sean Payton say, I'd like to use it. And he had Taysom Hill. He could have used it before. And, we'll see if they can get 3/4. But, yeah, I probably said to you, Dom, I predicted they're going to ban this thing. And, by the way, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think it should be banned. I said it back in the Bush days when it was the Bush, Reggie Bush. I didn't like it. I have no problem with them banning it. I don't even think it's going to affect the Eagles that much because Jalen Hurts is the biggest part of this success. It's nice to have that insurance plan of guys pushing them. I don't think it's going to change the effectiveness that much.
Yeah, I mean, from the standpoint of the league, I mean, they feel it's not a good look. It's just an ugly-looking play that doesn't emphasize what they want emphasized, the athleticism, the power. There's sort of power in this play, but, in a rugby sort of way. But you're right about the Eagles. I think Jalen's percentage will go down slightly. I don't think it'll be automatic. I can think of a couple quarterback sneaks that he made that he wouldn't have made if not for for a final push. What I'll be interested to see is how it affects Nick's thinking. Will it still be automatic on 4th and 1? Will he have to think hard about, well, it's a short one, it's not a short one? Those kind of things. And also,
yeah, 4th and 1 from the 32 on your side of the field, that might change. He might change that thinking.
And as I mentioned in the story, there's a combination here. Not only might they eliminate it, but if Jason Kelce retires, you're losing an important part of why this has been a successful play. I mean, nobody, despite his size, nobody does that better than Jason. So will Cam Jurgens do it as well? We'll see.
When do you think we're going to hear from Kelce? I know you can't push him. You can't try and nudge him or anything. Like he should be given the chance to make the decision on whatever time frame he sees fit because he's earned that kind of latitude. How do you think it plays timeline-wise?
I had to guess. I mean, I think it'll be fairly soon. I mean, he doesn't want to keep the team hanging in the air, not knowing what to do with regard to the position, the cap. I think we could hear something in the next week and a half.
Yeah, I think Jason will let the Eagles know so they can plan. And I think it has a dramatic effect because, Tomo, I think if Jason returns, I think Isaac is probably leaving. But if Jason doesn't return, I think the Eagles make a big effort to get Isaac back and have Cam Jurgens take over at center. So I think it would have a profound effect on free agency, and I think Jason knows that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's going to affect two positions, so they need to know going forward.
Yeah.
Now, all those guys are pretty tight, so what is Isaac Seumalo saying to Jay? He's shooting him texts going, yeah, retirement sounds great to me. Wish I had your money. I could retire. Is he attempting to influence Jason's decision? If McMullen has it right, which, oh, by the way, I agree with him, Jason Kelce will dictate whether Isaac Seumalo stays a Bird, maybe more than anybody else?
Well, Isaac's coming off a good season, is going to get paid really well.
He's going to get paid no matter what.
Anybody. If it's not the Eagles, it'll be somebody else. So I don't think, I don't think he cares a whole lot whether it's here or someplace else. I mean, he knows it's a business. He probably, I would assume he'd rather stay, but I don't think he's going to. All of those guys respect Jason too much to let their own interests affect, try to influence Jason. They want him back because of, he's coming off probably at the age of 35, the best season of his career. But aside from that, they're going to let him make his own mind up.
Yeah. And yeah, what's interesting, Jason, I don't know if he had his third daughter, but it was on the Bird, so I assume.
It's kind of been radio silence.
Yeah, radio silence. But obviously, so, his third daughter, that plays into it as well. A lot of decisions. And Jason, has said, Damo, to us, it looks like, he's pretty healthy. Now, he said, I'm still banged up, so he's got to go through that at age 35. But a lot of things to decide. And for the Eagles as a whole, because they have so many free agents, and our buddy Adam Kaplan, and I think people misinterpreted what Adam said, that they would potentially use the franchise tag on CJ Gardner Johnson. That's not the Eagles' MO, but they could use it as a strategy if they feel things are going in a negative direction before March 15th. Just put the tag on him, make sure he can't go anywhere else, and then get the long-term deal down the road. You think that's a potential?
As a temporary solution, as a long-term one, no. It ties him up too badly. I mean, you've got to assume, Jalen's going to sign his extension sooner rather than later. They have some cap room, but not a lot when the cap goes up. And, they want to, I assume, they're facing a challenge here with the people they're going to lose as far as replacing them either with draft picks or veteran free agents and staying in the mix for the Super Bowl. So, they don't want to, Howie's going to be very careful how he spends his cap room. And that's why I don't think he would be willing to franchise guy for very long.
All right, Damo, I've got another secondary question for you, but over at the corner rather than the safety position. We know that Bradbury is a free agent. We know he's on record as saying, I'm going to cash in this year, guys. If it's Philadelphia, love it. If it's not, see you later, bye. He's going to be difficult to replace. They have a high top 10 draft pick, could be at a cornerback. Then they'll play the free agent market with everybody else. How much emphasis do they have to put on the cornerback position? Because they surely have shown before they put an emphasis on it. But not only did they have to replace Bradbury, for the second time in 3 years, Avonte Maddox has missed significant time. He played all 16 games last year, but the year before that, he only played 10 out of 16. And this year, he only played 10 out of 17. Are we worried about Avonte Maddox now that he's an injury-prone player? And if so, if you
just
got
had surgery, by the way, Avonte had surgery.
That's why I brought it up, because I saw an Instagram picture of him in the hospital with his toe up. Is that a concern for the Eagles this offseason, that cornerback with Darius Slay on one side and then question marks on the other? We all think Maddox can play, but if he's going to miss 5, 6, 7 games a year, you have to have someone else to step in and play, maybe better than Josiah Scott did this year. How big is the cornerback position for the Eagles this offseason?
Well, Maddox first. The dilemma there is you don't want him outside. He's not an outside corner. He can hang on for a little bit in short spurts, but he's a slot corner. The problem is he's an undersized slot corner, and that's why he keeps getting hurt. But that's where he is, unless you move him to safety. But you got to find a replacement for him. It's in the slot before you do that. So
right.
They've got, I'm assuming Bradbury's gone. because of the fact that he clearly has put money above all else with regard to his decision going forward here. When you start stating that right out of the gate, there's no sentimentality about, I really had a good time here with the Eagles. I want to stay if they'll give me a better, a close to a good deal. So I'm guessing he's gone, and I'm guessing that cornerback is going to be a really, really high priority in the draft.
Could be number 10. Yeah. The Eagles have number 10 and number 30. So, yeah, they're going to need 2 starters out of that group, and it's obviously going to be easier at number 10. Yeah. But as far as the free agents, you're right. The other one is Javon Hargrave. So I want to talk about it from CJ and TJ's perspective. CJ, we talked about a little bit, TJ Edwards versus, say, Bradbury and Javon Hargrave. Now, where I'm going with that is you got 2 guys coming off their rookie deals who are 25, 26 versus 30-year-old guys. Howie wants to pay those 25, 26-year-olds coming into the second contract. That's generally the philosophy of the organization. Is that right? Wrong? Should they consider it more when you have dominant players in their 30s?
Yeah, I mean, it's in my mind, they've got to keep Hargrave, John. Jordan Davis didn't exactly knock anybody's socks off, but you got to assume he's going to get better this second season. But Fletcher Cox is going to, I don't see any way he stays. So, you've got to find another interior defensive lineman. Either Hargrave or somebody else. And, Hargrave has his pass rush ability that he showed this season was just, was eye-opening. He came to this team as a nose tackle. Last year, if he had a deficiency, it probably was stopping the run. But he was a difference maker at rushing the quarterback, and that's what this league is all about. So I can't see any way they let him go, no matter what it costs, no matter what they feel about younger guys.
All right, Dom, I'm going to roll the dice a little bit here. If you had been advised by your lawyers not to comment, so be it. But I'm hoping you can be upfront with us. After the outstanding post you had about Dean Blandy saying the tush push is on the way out, did the good folks at JAKIB Media ask you to take a performance-enhancing drug test like they did for DK Mitchell because he looked as good as he did on the court in the NBA's All-Star Game celebrity game? What the hell was that all about? Does the NFL really do that? Do they really, during the offseason, go, oh, shoot, look at what this guy did. Let's get him in for a performance-enhancing drug test. I saw the text that he put up on his Instagram, and they said, you've been selected. What do you mean selected? How do you get selected before? Isn't it
I didn't see that. Was that DK Metcalf?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't see his Instagram post? You know this story, Damo?
I saw J.J. Watt, who retired, and they're asking him to take tests. So that doesn't make sense.
If he comes out of retirement. No, if you guys didn't see this, he put it up on his Instagram. He got a text from an NFL employee who said, DK, you have been selected for performance-enhancing tests. We must talk immediately so we can set up a test time tomorrow, because they don't give you like a 2-week advance notice where you can get something into your system to take the performance-enhancing drugs out of your system. You got to show up within the next 24 hours, and they send them a notification, which they do with players all the time. Damo, I know you know this, but they use the word selected, that you've been selected for performance-enhancing drug testing now. Is that normal? Or DK was making a big deal out of saying, they're only testing me because I looked as good out there on the floor in the All-Star game that I did. Did the NFL just do another stupid thing, kind of like the field at Arizona?
I'm not sure the text was legitimate. Somebody's, do we know that that's been confirmed by the NFL? I haven't seen anything. He could be just getting trolled here. I don't,
No, it's DK. DK photoshopped it onto his own Instagram. So you think he's being trolled by somebody else and just bought it hook, line, and sinker?
I think so. The NFL's got more important things to deal with right now.
Yeah, they're not watching the NBA All-Star game. That would be my guess. They're not watching.
They're always trying to protect the shield.
Hey, DK always looks like that, so there's no surprise for what he looks like. Yeah,
there may be an NFL team that's thinking of signing Mac McClung, but other than that, I don't think they paid a whole lot of the weekend.
By the way, the process worked. Philadelphia finally has a championship. Mac McClung, congratulations. But I do want to talk about the coordinator, Damo, for coordinator positions. I want to pick your brain on what it means. Offensive coordinator, we kind of all know it's going to be Brian Johnson. Right. Defensive coordinator. All right. First, that news comes out. JG talks to Peter King. Eagles are willing to pay him head coach money to stay. They're talking to everybody under the sun. Vance Joseph, Sean Desai. Now it's Chris Shula, Rick Minner's kid, Jim Leonard. Did I miss anyone? What does it tell you that the defensive coordinator search is going the way it goes? Or does it tell you anything? Or is it about, hey, we want to talk to a bunch of people so we can circle back and say Denard Wilson was the best guy?
Well, it might tell me, and I'm referencing Mike Sealski's story this morning, that maybe Howie and Jeffrey have said aren't crazy about Denard Wilson and have told Nick to go look around. Possibility. They had, regardless of whether they were going to hire Denard or promote Denard or not, they had to go outside and interview a minority candidate. So that I can understand why they're interviewing Vance Joseph. The thing about Vance Joseph that I find interesting, he's a blitzer. His teams are in the top 5 in blitz percentage every year since he's been a coordinator or a head coach, which is kind of a contrast to Jonathan Gannon and a contrast. I don't know what that means with regard to Denard Wilson. I don't know if he would blitz more than Gannon. I don't know whether Howie and Jeffrey want a guy that blitzes more than Jonathan Gannon. If they were going to offer Gannon head coaching money, then they would have been happy with his style of defense. So I don't know. I guess they're just being thorough, and you're right. They then can go back and promote Denard, and no one can say they didn't look around. I think he's a good choice, but we'll see. I still think, Vance Joseph is a factor here somehow.
All right. I do want your selection on this one. John and I debated a little bit earlier. Of the 2 defecting coordinators, if you use a 2-year frame, because I think that's the quote-unquote new norm in the NFL, because you can get fired after 2 years. Shoot, down in Houston, you get fired after 1 year. But the rest of the National Football League, you're pretty much locked into a job for 2 years. So over 2 years, who's in a better position to succeed? Steichen in Indianapolis or Gannon in Arizona? Because they had very comparable records. Indianapolis was 4-12-1, which was better than Arizona, who was 4-13. So there's a reason why those jobs opened up. The teams are pretty damn bad this year. Who's got a better chance to jump ahead and improve right away, Arizona or Indianapolis?
Well, I'm going to assume that Indianapolis is going to find a way to get a quarterback that can actually play. They've got a high draft pick. They'll probably bring in one of those, either trade up or stay at 4 and get one of those young guys, which will help them. Aside from that, the rest of their team is not horrible. I think Shane stands a better chance of succeeding there, even though he's in a conference now with Jacksonville, which is going to be good for quite a while. I think Tennessee's, I don't know what's going to happen there. The Cardinals' job, I think it's a death trap. You're at the mercy of Kyler Murray. Does Kyler feel like playing, or does he just feel like collecting his paycheck? I don't know. Does he feel like, maybe baseball's for him? Just, I don't trust him. I don't trust his dedication to the game. There was a reason that when he signed the deal, they put in that clause where he had to study 5 hours a week. Their lines need to be rebuilt. It's just a bad situation in Arizona. And so, I mean, I think Shane Steichen's got a better chance of succeeding than Jonathan Gannon. Plus, you're dealing with the Bidwell family. And you know, I mean, he may get a year, he may get 2 years. It's hard to say. I realize Shane's dealing with a nut job in Indianapolis as well.
He's not exactly Jeffrey Lurie either, Jim Irsay.
No, but at least they've got a GM in Indianapolis that kind of can act as a rational thinker in Chris Ballard. So I would give Shane the slight advantage as far as surviving.
I'm with you, Damo. I don't like either ownership situation a little bit. JG's got the nicer weather, so that you can put that in the equation. So
that's right.
Maybe he's a little bit happier.
We saw the field. He's got to play on that god-awful field every single week.
Now, I want to talk about the Eagles because we all talk about the defense because of what happened in the Super Bowl. I thought Shane Steichen was a tremendous play caller. I think he's got a feel for it. I don't think that comes around all that often. And, you know, Nick is already on record saying he's not taking it back, so it's going to be Brian Johnson calling the plays. I think assuming it's going to be the same and just as good, I think that's a bad assumption. Your thoughts?
I've liked Brian Johnson, John, since they hired him. I mean, I thought it was his relationship with Jalen. I think has been a big reason for Jalen's progress over the last 2 years. You know, he has play calling experience. I mean, I did a story on him after the Eagles hired him, talking to Dan Mullen and people that, you know, his Utah coach going back to when he played. You know, he coached. He was a quarterback's coach with Dak in Mississippi State.
Yeah.
You know, and the only thing they're losing here by promoting Brian to offensive coordinator is the day-to-day closeness he's going to have with Jalen. But I mean, I think Jalen's to the point now he doesn't need that as much. I mean, I just think the trust factor between the two of them is going to be a huge factor going forward. I think Brian's going to be I don't think he's going to be offensive coordinator for very long because
probably not
head coach in the next few years.
Yeah.
So they're going to end up renting him the same way they rented Gannon. We shall see. Yeah. All right, John and I kind of kicked this around earlier, Damo, and I sound like the wet blanket. I'll apologize for it in advance. Is there any chance that there's a fly in the ointment with the Jalen Hurts negotiation? His agent has never negotiated this level of a contract before. These are new levels for everyone across the National Football League. So she and he are stepping into waters that they've never been before. Sometimes things go awry. It makes too much sense not to believe they're going to get something done because the Eagles are good at dealing with these high-level type quarterback negotiations. Certainly Jeff Lurie has shown the willingness to keep it at the market value, not trying to save or get cute. Jalen Hurts loves it here in Philadelphia, shown nothing but love for the city and has wanted to stay here. But you never know. Every once in a while, something comes into a negotiation that you don't expect, or someone gets a little over the top in their desires and askings. Is there any chance this thing goes sideways?
I mean, I wouldn't say sideways, Jody, but I think it could be delayed. I don't think it will be, but there's always that possibility. I mean, Nicole Lynn is a very competent agent. You're right. She hasn't negotiated this level of contract before. And she's actually also going to be negotiating a deal for Quinnen Williams, the defensive tackle from the Jets, who's entering his 5th-year option year and wants a new deal. So she's got 2 big, huge contracts to negotiate. You know, and complicating matters is Justin Herbert and Joey Burrow and Lamar Jackson, who also are looking for contracts. So everybody's going to be looking what's going on around them. You know, this isn't being done in a vacuum. That said, you know, I mean, Jalen's been a unique individual in just about every aspect since he came to this team. I think the same is going to hold true here. I don't think he's Lamar. I don't think he's like, I got to have every penny guaranteed. or I'm not going to sign a deal. I think they'll get one done. I even think he might find a way to help them, so because he wants this team to go back to the Super Bowl. He doesn't want to, strip them of every ounce of cap space so that they can't re-sign some of these free agents. But it could be a while, or it could be real quick. I just have no clue, other than the fact that I don't think what we'll see happen is what's happening in Baltimore, where they're to the point now where they've got to franchise him if they want to keep him. I mean, he's not going anywhere this year. But I don't think he's going to, I don't see that relationship deteriorating like it did in Baltimore.
All right. At P Jumbo, make sure you follow Paul on Twitter. I like your little sort of bio now. Semi-retirement is not working. So I love that. Paul Domowitch, the 33rd team, did a great job for us at JAKIB Sports, doing the stat package. WBCB Merrill Station. You can listen to him there all over the place. And we love having you here, Domo. I'll leave you with this. When it comes to sort of Nick Sirianni and the expectations, when Jody talks about flies in the ointments, that's what I brought up. I wasn't thinking player perspective. Mm-hmm. I think the expectations are so high. And they just came off a season where they set franchise record for wins and sacks, and all these guys had career seasons. Like you and I go back to Doug Peterson. I think the worst thing they ever said was the new normal. You raise those expectations, and what do you know? People expect it. I think the fly in the ointment is the expectations. How do you live up to them unless you're Bill Belichick and Tom Brady?
I tweeted a statistic the other day from a story I did in September about Super Bowl winners and runners-up. And runners-up have not fared well historically since you go back to the start of the free agent era. I mean, there have only been 3 teams that have gotten back to the Super Bowl that lost the year before, and only one that won it. That was New England after they lost to the Eagles in 2017. So it's not an easy road. And the challenges are even magnified with this team because of all the free agents they have. I realize the cap's going to be going up, but I mean, they've got the 2 worst things happening right now. The number of free agents that they want to keep on a defense that played well, and a quarterback who now has to be paid. So, Howie Roseman got Executive of the Year this year. If he manages to do all this and take them back to the Super Bowl, they should just put his name on the trophy.
Damo, you don't know how happy we are that both you and your colleague Ray Didinger have failed miserably at retirement. We're thankful that is the case. You're still hopping on with us, doing your great stuff for JAKIBSports.com and 33rd team as well. Appreciate you jumping in today, bud. We'll get in touch the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Paul Domowitch. Check him out on JAKIBSports.com. More in-season stuff than out-of-season. 33rd team. He's there every single week. And, we'll continue to tap into Damo's expertise. He did say something there at the end that I disagreed with. What the hell was he talking about? Help me out here, John.
The fly in the ointment stuff? No. Are you talking about the going back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. All the way back to 2017. We're not in 2036, are we? It's just 2023. It was only 5 years ago that the Patriots lost the Eagles, but then jumped up and won the Super Bowl the year after. And I know they're kind of a outlier in that.
I feel like the Pats. That's where I was going. I feel like we should put the Patriots aside. The Brady Belichick Patriots aside, because all right, they did it. But for normal teams, I hear what Damo's saying.
Yeah, it was only 5 years ago, so there's no reason why the Eagles can't potentially do that. And, oh, by the way, at least defending myself, I didn't say yesterday the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl. I just said the Eagles should get back to the Super Bowl. I'm going to leave it up to them. I left it up to them this year, had them pick to win by a touchdown. What the hell happened? Shame on them. But they need to get back to that Super Bowl again next year. Because I think
expectations Expectations.
I am a bad guy for setting the bar as high as I am. I'm sorry about that, Eagle fans, but I evaluate this roster, even with all their free agents, with Jalen Hurts in tow. Johnny Mac's telling me, Jody, don't sweat the fly in the ointment. It's not going to happen. They're going to get it done. Sirianni being a good young coach, yeah. And the rest of the NFC not being as good as the AFC, yeah, I'm not dropping expectations. I may, as the offseason plays itself out, if Howie can't get some of these guys back under contract that are free agents. But right now, I'm still expecting the Eagles to be the team to beat in the NFC. Johnny Mac, Jody Mac coming back. We've still got a couple minutes.